Hello everybody, Steve here, and today I want to talk about this skeleton. I've had it for a few years and I've always found it to be rather fascinating because I'd never seen anything else like it before. It's made out of a hard plastic with cast rubber ribs, and it actually has a little pieces of fabric inside the sinuses to make them look very realistic. It's a pretty nicely done skeleton, and it's obviously fairly old. I had researched it for a while, never could quite come up with its origins until very recently. I came across a video that was made back in the 50s talking about the factory that made these. The company was called Educational and Scientific Products, and they were in Redhill, Surrey, Great Britain. They started manufacturing these back in around 1949, all the way up through the 70s. They're very well made, especially for the time, very unique. And I'm very pleased that now I know actually where it came from. So here on this little video, I've included some of those videos from that educational series on their manufacture, as well as some still photos I found of the factory, showing people making them. There's some humorous ones in there, a shirtless guy cleaning skeleton bones for assembly, as well as an older lady sitting with the skeleton, and she was actually the owner of the company. So go ahead and check those out. They're pretty neat. I'll also include at the end some photos of this skeleton in detail so you can take a look at it, and I gotta say, I'm just pleased to know where it came from, so enjoy.
Let's make no bones about it. This isn't half as spine-chilling as it looks. This is a factory at Redhill, Surrey, where Britain's most surprising exports are manufactured. Plastic bones and skeletons. They also make lifelike rubbery brains, and artificial livers and kidneys come to that. This is the industry that has taken the gruesomeness out of anatomical studies, producing molded parts of the body for use in the world's hospitals and medical schools. They don't roast meat in this oven. They simply bake remarkable replicas of human bones, which are so true to nature that an American college returned an artificial skull it had ordered, thinking they'd been sent a real one by mistake. Once shaped and buffed, even Hamlet's gravedigger couldn't distinguish it from the genuine eerie thing. Theatres and film companies order some of these grisly-looking creations, though mostly they're for serious students. As playthings, they come out too costly, at £36 or so for a bare skeleton. Remember, there are 27 separate bones in the human hand, or had you forgotten, as against 26 in the human foot. Most of the skeletons that medical students used came from the Middle East, but fewer and fewer countries now allow the export of human bones. And the plastic skeletons are less expensive and more durable. The last English skeleton to get into medical hands was one left over from a police experiment that followed the famous Hague acid bath murders after World War II. Now, in this age of plastics, they mass-produce their anatomical specimens. It's amazing the things that people make.
Surrey firm that makes plastic skeletons for medical minds to feast on. And the creepy craftsmanship here means they're perfect in every detail. For the soft plastic, worked with the ease of a child playing with plasticine, is pressed into molds cast from the genuine article, real human bones. The plastic is hardened in an oven, a hot pot of horror for most, but for the people who work here, the best way of cooking up that feeling of authenticity. The first plastic skeleton was made by this firm in 1949, but the foundation of such an industry must surely be attributed to the two gentlemen of Glasgow, Messrs. Burke and Hare. If the Two Gentlemen of Glasgow sounds like a Shakespearean piece, it's interesting to note that there's a theatrical demand for bare bones. Producers of Hamlet, particularly, come here when casting. A bone or not a bone? That's the question you're seeing answered. They're not pygmies, just miniatures for use in schools. All the skeletons made here are fully articulated. That doesn't mean they can talk. It means they can fold their arms and cross their legs and run about and yawn. Or they could, if they had that essential gift called life. Because of this, all the bones are made separately. It's surprising the number of people, apart from medical students, who have a use for this preternatural product. We've mentioned the theatrical demand, but people in other professions have a skeleton in the cupboard. Shoe manufacturers, for example, who buy feet. Putting teeth in is almost as difficult as pulling them out, except that the patient feels nothing. You need a brain to feel pain, but these are, strictly speaking, boneheads. But the firm has also built up a reputation for making every part of the human anatomy. Many plastic skeletons are sold to American hospitals, but sales, in fact, stretch all over the world, for only Egypt and Russia still allow human skeletons to be sold. So it's a pretty safe bet that today the man with a skeleton in his cupboard or car is quite a harmless individual.
Over to Croydon, but you can relax, for these old heads were never on shoulders, young or otherwise. They're made of plastic and are just an essential part of a new business, the manufacture of artificial skeletons. This man makes a skilled job of assembling the vertebrae. And here's how the bones are made, in a special mold into which the plastic is cast. After that, they're ground on a carborundum wheel. There's a shortage of good skeletons. We can't think why. And so when one does turn up, numerous models can be made from it. But assembling one is a tricky business. You've got to know how to handle them bones. For these are in big demand in medical schools, and there mustn't be any confusion there. The plastic bones are tougher than human bones, so altogether, they're a rattling good idea.
Why, if it isn't old Massa Bones himself, so if you hear something rattling, don't blame the car. Actually, he belongs in a basement in South London, but don't faint, many hundreds of his kind go out from there each year. The ribs are of rubber and the bones are of plastic. Sticking them together is a job for skilled specialists, and all in all, some 12 people are employed here. When complete, the skeletons go to medical schools and hospitals, to say nothing of museums. It's a grisly trade, but with practice you find there's nothing in it, as the man said about his hollow tooth. One thing, you get quite sure that the hip bone's connected to the thigh bone and the thigh bone's connected to the... Oh, but don't let's start that.